Last season was one to forget for the Rocket, with a string of late pullouts from tournaments, losing matches from commanding positions on multiple occasions, and also breaking his cue in a pretty meaningless match. And as is the case whenever we see slight dips in form from O'Sullivan, the internet immediately begins to ask if this is the beginning of the end for the sport's biggest ever star. Most of the time, these talks come from a single disappointing defeat or how he comes across in particular pre-match interviews. But last season's extended period of uncertainty may have brought back some genuine concern amongst Ronnie O'Sullivan's fans. However, panic not, O'Sullivan fans, because I'm hopefully going to alleviate some of that stress and provide you with some much needed reassurance that things may just turn around this season. And let's look at positive number one. Over the summer break, in between seasons, O'Sullivan got married to his long-term on-again, off-again partner, Layla Ruaz, not long after it seemed that the pair had permanently severed their relationship, which many speculated was at least part of the reason why he struggled so much last season. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, so what? Players get married all the time, why does this affect his snooker? Well, this doesn't just apply to O'Sullivan, but sports people in general. But if they are in a happy place off the table, this typically leads to a more settled demeanour on the table where they can play the sport without off-table concerns being in the back of their mind. It is obvious that he was in a bad place for the most of last season, with the glaring evidence of this being his last-minute withdrawal from the Masters, his home tournament, which he has always been incredibly fond of. Now, whilst we can't ever know for sure what anyone is thinking, Ronnie may have just stabilised his personal life, which I suspect will translate to an improved mindset when it comes to his snooker. Going on to another point, Ronnie went the whole of last season without winning a single tournament, but that has happened before and as recently as the 2020-2021 season. Now, of course, that was a season heavily blighted by the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, and he did still reach 5 finals, which in comparison to last season is a massive improvement. But even then, there were still question marks about Ronnie's inability to close out big matches, in particular those 5 finals. Yet with those rumblings of doubt going on in the background, O'Sullivan still came back the very next season and won 2 titles, including a record-equalling 7th world title. There is therefore very recent examples of the Rocket being able to recover from a poor season very quickly. But the biggest point in this video, and the biggest point I think O'Sullivan fans should cling to, is that doubts about Ronnie and his alleged decline are not new. And in fact, I bring in both John Higgins and Mark Williams into that statement as well. How many times have all 3 of the class of 92 been written off? There was a point about a decade ago when Mark Williams had fallen out of the top 16 and went 6 years without winning a full ranking title, and there were joking comments made that he may now be better suited to the World Seniors Tour than the Professional Tour. However, since then, he has won multiple titles, including a 3rd world title, and of course, got to the Crucible final 2 months ago as well. John Higgins too is no stranger to people doubting him. He went 4 years without winning a ranking title between 2021 and earlier this year, and he also fell out of the top 16 at the beginning of last season, but he's bounced back to win 2 titles at the back end of the season, and suddenly those doubts have evaporated again. And it is perhaps O'Sullivan out of the 3 who has had the most doubts throughout his career, or certainly most recently. I foolishly began doubting that he would ever win a 6th world title during that period after losing to Mark Selby in the 2014 final, where he struggled at the Crucible and didn't reach a single semi-final between 2015 and 2019. Now he is level with Hendry and may still have a few cracks left at an 8th world title. The point is, they have all been questioned at multiple stages at the back end of their careers, and all have continued to have the last laugh, with the trio currently sitting at 3, 4 and 5 in the official rankings. The record books therefore do tell us that O'Sullivan doesn't stay down for very long in this sport, and it would be unwise to start thinking that might change. Perhaps he won't win a big Triple Crown event next season, and he may not reach the dizzy heights of winning 5 titles in a single season like he done 2 years ago, but I am certainly expecting a more settled O'Sullivan this time around. He'll pick and choose what he plays in, of course, and he'll probably pull out of a couple of tournaments last minute as well. That's nothing new, but in my view, he'll certainly be in a better frame of mind when it comes to his snooker, and when it comes to doubting him, I will end this video in Ronnie's own words about whether you should or not.
Don't ever doubt me. Don't ever tell me that I'm gone. I will let you know when I'm gone. And now ain't the time. I will say when it's over is when it's over.